Hello everyone, welcome back to the Blockman editor tutorial. In these videos, we will give you a complete introduction to the Blockman editor. In this video, we will learn about the content related to map node. Alright, let's get started. Go to the editor, click on the entity component and select the player. Click on Trigger Edit to enter the Trigger Edit interface. Create any new trigger node, drag the execution port, and find the list of map nodes. The map nodes are Create Dungeon, Create Map, Enter Dungeon, Leave Dungeon, and move all players from the current map to another. Next, let's look at the effects of these action nodes. The first one is Create Dungeon, which creates a new dungeon of the specified map. The dungeon is a duplicated copy of the specified map. The next node is Create Map, a node that creates a new map based on the current map template. It is important to note that there is a difference in the presentation of the two nodes, even though they both create a new map. The map generated by the Create Map node is unique and all players can play on the same map. But the dungeon map generated by the Create Dungeon node is not unique to all the players. Each player can have their own dungeon map. For example, let's first create a dungeon, and let different players enter the dungeon map. We can see that in the dungeon map, the players can't see each other. This means that each player has their own dungeon map. Next is the Enter Map node, which is used to teleport the specified entity instance to a map. We can select the target teleportation point on the map by filling in the coordinates of the teleportation point, or by clicking on the coordinates icon. Then it comes the Enter Dungeon node, which is used to transfer the specified entity instance to a dungeon. As for Leave Dungeon, it is used to move the entity instance out of the dungeon, and the entity instance is moved to the position it was at before it entered the dungeon. Lastly, Move All Players from the current map to another node is used to move all players on a map to another map. The current map parameter is the current map the player is on, and the target map parameter is the map all players will be moved to. The coordinates parameter is the specific location where the player moves to in the target map. Next, let's create two example cases with the commonly used map nodes. Example 1 aims to achieve the effect of, when the game officially starts, all players will be teleported to another map. Example 2 aims to achieve the effect of, when players touch a part in the map, they will enter their respective dungeon map. Here we have prepared two maps in advance. It is map 001 and map 002. Next, we will use these two maps to make the example cases. First, let's create the first example. In map 001, select the player entity template, and enter the Trigger Edit interface. The first step is to create the trigger node, when the entity officially starts the game. The second step is to drag the execution port, and select the action node, move all players from the current map to another, in the map nodes. The third step is to drag the execution port of the current map parameter, select, Obtain Map by Name, in the map node, and select, Map 001, in the name setting option. The fourth step is to select map 002 for the target map parameters. The fifth step is to select the coordinate point when all players teleport to map 002. This completes the trigger logic that all players will be teleported to another map when the game officially starts. Return to the editor, click Run, and let's see the result. Next, let's look at the second example. Set up a random part in the scene of map 001, and click Trigger Edit in the right properties view to enter the Trigger Edit interface. The first step is to create a new trigger node for, when the part is touched by an entity. The second step is to drag the execution port, and select the Enter Dungeon action node in the map node. The third step is to drag out the action node list in the entity parameter, and click the entity which touches the part in the current trigger parameters. The fourth step is to select map 002 in the setting option of the dungeon map name. This is because we want to use map 002 as the template to generate a new dungeon. The fifth step is to select the coordinate point when the player teleports to the dungeon. This completes the trigger logic that when the players touch the part in the map, the players will enter the dungeon map respectively. Now let's go back to the editor, click Run and see the result. When the two players touch the part in the map 001, they each entered into a different dungeon of the map. As you can see, no matter what kind of operation player A makes on the parts in the dungeon map, it will not affect player B's dungeon map. That's all for this video. We hope it can help you on your way to a great creator. If you want to know more about the editor, you can comment below the video or post on the official forum. See you in the next video.